Ben and I were reminiscing about a moment that we had that was kind of like Farscape versus Stargate.
Oh, yeah.
We were at Comic-Con. Our dear little show had just been cancelled. And I'd come and done a guest episode, Prometheus Unbound, on SG-1. And Ben and I were attending Comic-Con, as were the StarGate, the members of the StarGate family.
I'm sorry, I just wanted to water, sorry.
That's comedy. And when it was time for all of us to leave from our panels, all the StarGate guys came out, and this huge stretch limo appeared, into which they all poured, and off they went back to their hotel to go back to the airport. And Ben and I were standing there, and I kid you not, the vehicle that arrived for us to escort us back to the hotel was a yellow cart.
It's like a golf cart.
Yeah. Basically.
But not as nice.
But I think it normally delivered carts, like crates.
In the back? Yeah, it had crates on the back.
Yeah, it had crates on it.
Guys, jump on.
And then someone from security said, "Oh, wait a minute. We can't take them back. They're going to have to wait for a second because Sarah Michelle Gellar is in the green room and she needs a Diet Coke."
That was the first time we met the StarGate bunch.
So we said, we got to get on that train.
I think there's some questions.
There are some patiently waiting people with questions.
Hi, I'd like to know, my family happily waited for over an hour to get into this panel. And the reason I'm asking is I'd like to know, is there any celebrity that you would wait over an hour to get a chance to ask a good question? Who would that be?
Yeah, I try not to think about these things because there is a small possibility in our universe as actors that we might one day meet those people, and then I become completely stupid and then hate myself for a year afterwards. So I feel the pain. I was waitressing in London, and Princess Diana used to come in and work out at this club where I worked, and I'd never seen her. And on this one particular day, everyone was acting a little bit differently, and they said, "She's here, she's here, she's here." You didn't need to hear the name, we knew who she was and what that meant. And she always wanted a little bit of privacy and to be left alone, because as soon as she would leave the building, the paparazzi would just really hound her. And obviously we know how that ended, so we would always try to do what we could for her while she was in there, because she played tennis there and trained. And so I didn't see her at all. I didn't notice her in the room, but Joyce, our brilliant Irish manageress, had put up all the menus like this around her on the table. So that was her like security screen.
Come on.
Okay, I'll finish the story now. Anyway, so they put these things around her, and I didn't realize that she was hiding behind these genius paper screens. And she came up to, I was working at the counter doing something, and I heard this voice say, "Can I give you this for a muffin and a cappuccino?" And I turned around, and there she was. And I went, "Lucy will take care of that." And ran away. Who would you wait for, Ben? I was going to say, this is a tiny footnote to Ben's story. I was working with him on Farscape, and it was a couple of weeks in, and he mentioned, or I looked him up or something, and I saw that he'd done The Merchant of Venice in New York, and I went, wait a minute. And I went back home, and I looked through this old little, just my herb chest. And wherever I collected this stuff, there was a playbill. When I was 16 years old, I'd gone to New York for the first time with my family, and my sister and I went to see The Merchant of Venice on Broadway, starring Dustin Hoffman, and in that playbill was Ben Browder. So I'd seen him on Broadway however many years before. I thought that was weird and funny.
Have any of you hoarded or sequestered away props from the show looking for the big payoff?
I know there was something I wanted that someone beat me to. On the last night of SG1, we were all sort of doing the rounds of everyone's different trailers, sort of talking about the good old times, and then we're like, yeah, those last 2 years. I was trying to sort of keep myself a little scarce because I hadn't been part of the whole 10-year amazing phenomenon. And as soon as we did the last scene, a couple of the guys just raced up onto set, went upstairs to command, and stole the red phone to the president. And I so would have taken that if I'd had the chance. I kept my little itty-bitty Vala patches because hers were little baby ones. Special little ones. I can't believe they made special ones for me. I couldn't believe it. So I've kept them in a special box too. It's my thing.
Claudia, the last time you were here, you were starting your house. How'd it go?
Oh, well, it's, I'd say 95% finished. New toilet seats. Although, as I was saying yesterday, I'm training 2 toddlers now, so, I mean, I'm going to have to get new ones soon enough. But yes, thank you for asking, and thanks for your help, guys. Last time I was here, I was sort of desperately trying to finish our house before I gave birth in it. And it did end up being a home birth and not a Home Depot birth, so thank you very much.
Hi, thanks y'all for coming. Quite often big companies have inter-urban, like inter-department ball games and soccer games and crap like that. Did you guys ever do any SG1 versus Atlanta soccer day and just like kick each other's ass?
Yeah, it was just like that baseball day that they had in Twilight.
Next question.
Hello again. So what's in store for each of you next with the StarGate franchise? And if you're not going to be in StarGate coming up next, as far as you know, what's next for you on screen?
Well, seeing as how I spent the last StarGate movie vomiting in trash cans just off set with bad morning sickness, I don't know if they'll have me back. The only things I've done, I did a really cool game. It's taken a year for the actor part to be completed. It's a PS3 game called Uncharted 2. It's amazing. Like, the first game was fantastic. This one, we're all just blown away by what they've been able to do with it. And I've got, I don't know when the movie's coming out, but I did an animation film with Johnny Depp that was directed by Gore Verbinski from the Pirates of the Caribbean. And they're doing, it's sort of, it's a rival picture for the things that Pixar's been doing. It's taking animation to a completely different level, and from what I've seen, it's really incredible. So that, I think it's going to take a while. It may not come out until 2011. So in the meantime, I'm being a mama and waiting for the next gig, like, everyone.
My question particularly is to Claudia. Who was more fun to beat up, Michael Shanks or Ben Browder?
That would be like kissing and telling. That was my answer. Although I have to say that when I did meet Michael, when I came to do Prometheus Unbound, they'd very specifically written in this fight scene that it was funny, and I hadn't met Michael yet, and I walked onto set and I thought, oh, I don't know what this actor's going to be like, and I'm doing all my scenes with him, and I hope he's a cool guy, and I was standing in the hallway, and he walked straight past me, and I sort of went, he might be a bit of a problem. Awesome! And then I was standing on set and I just thought, oh God, this is going to be tough because I have all these ideas for the fight scene and it's supposed to have all these ideas for the episode. And he came over and he went, oh my God, And he shook my hand like this, sort of classic Michael, kind of like, really enthusiastically. And I said, oh, hi, I saw you out in the hallway. And he was so embarrassed. He said, oh, I didn't see you there. And he was very apologetic. I thought, okay, this might be good. And might be okay. My first day at school. And then he said, I have a couple of ideas for the fight scene. I hope you don't mind. And I said, no, great, what are they? And they were all about making his, goofy things that made him very unmacho, and it was all for the comedy of the scene. And I thought, well, I'm really going to enjoy doing a fight scene with this guy because, it was just so much fun, and we were given that opportunity based on the scene to sort of pull out of it whatever we could on the fun scale. So
you preferred Michael?
I prefer beating him up because it's all in fun. And with you...
But who's a better kisser?
I would have loved to grab
I said, but who's a better kisser?
Oh, no contest, baby.
Open.
No one knows about that then.
Next question.
This question's for Claudia and Ben. Specifically what I'm curious about is what was it like for your character's development coming into a show that had such a history and background to it? And I mean, were you given tips? Did you guys develop it on your own, or try to distinguish your relatively new characters to the series from any of the characters that they had previously?
I think I was really lucky because I did Prometheus Unbound, and it grew out of that. So they said, well, that worked, so let's see how we can make more out of that. So Rob Cooper called me, I think, and said, look, we really love what you guys did, and we're not sure what's happening with the show. So if SG-1 doesn't continue, there's the possibility of doing some kind of spin-off, and we'd really love you to consider joining us for that and continuing what you created with Michael somehow. So that was, we talked about that, and then they found out that they were being picked up again, and they said, well, would you come and just... Oh no, and then Amanda was having her baby, so they said, while she's off, would you mind coming for 6 or so episodes and filling that vast gap of her character's absence and her absence on set, and just sort of throw Vala into the mix now. And she changed. I certainly changed her from Prometheus Unbound. I just took her to a greater extreme because Rob said to me, do what you want, basically. He said, which was awesome. So he said, just keep going along that line. You can do whatever you want. If we don't like it, we'll just cut it out. So I thought, well, what worked was that I really irritated Daniel Jackson as Vala, so I'm just going to work on that for as long as they keep me. But she was just, she was the woman who was in denial of becoming a woman. She thought she was still a girl, and she was walking in, so she was just incredibly playful, and that's how I allowed the character to develop, was what's the most playful choice I can make, basically, and the most annoying simultaneously.
This question is for Claudia. You got to wear a lot of really interesting and elaborate wardrobe pieces. What was your favorite, or do you have an interesting story about one?
I remember when the beautiful Christine Mooney called me and said, we're very excited to have you on the show. She was the costume designer. And she said, we're very excited to have you on the show, and I've got this great idea. You're going to be wearing black leather. And I said, I haven't done that in about 4 months. Okay. And she said, no, wait until you see it. And I was just looking at it the other day. I found it when I was unpacking my office, and all the boxes that have been sitting there forever, and I found the original sketch, and I asked her to sign it for me, and it was the one with the straps that crosses over when she first arrives back at SG-1 and says, where's my Daniel? And I went up to Rob and I said to him, look, I have done the black leather thing for so long now, I really would love to branch out. I think this is an incredible outfit that they've given me as an entrance, and I'm hoping that this isn't what defines Vala. I love the idea of her being a Barbie doll, and and so we went from there, and I just expected that I would get one costume for the season because I wasn't planning, I didn't know what the budget was like. And she said, oh God, of course, you can wear this week, and then the next week you'll... And I mean, they literally got exhausted in the costume department because they got excited about the prospect of giving Vala all this new stuff. She was like a new toy for everyone. And Amanda would come in and say, oh man, it's so unfair, I've been wearing these fatigues for 8 years! So then they created that moment in the episode where Amanda's character took me out shopping, took Vala out shopping, so we could finally see her in some regular clothes. But it was the bling that did it for finally. It was just those little barrettes that were actually my own for the most part, or we would buy a couple here and there, and Brenda and I would, pop them in because we thought it was so inappropriate in that context that, Vala bringing a bit of bling to the SG1 was, her major contribution to army fashion.
Okay, my question for you guys is, what is one of your favorite memories from the filming of Stargate or Stargate Atlantis?
There's so many!
Yeah, and it's hard to get.
I got very excited the first time I got to do a gate scene. I think it's one of the best props in film and television history. That's my personal opinion. And working on shows for so many years on that sort of British/Australian filming system, sort of Doctor Who type budgets from the BBC and what have you, it was aluminum foil and painting things purple and then you were in space. That's what I was used to. Yeah, exactly. This is my imaginary space helmet. So to walk in and see the gate moving really shocked me. I didn't realize it was such a practical prop. And I was very excited. I just, I really solidified for me that I was there working on a show. I'd seen the original film years ago as a kid, and it just sort of, for me, was a really exciting moment.